Hey there, Diocese of the Rio Grande. What follows is an interview that I did back in May with Janna Lopez, the founder of Neighbors Helping Neighbors, which is based out of Las Vegas, New Mexico, the original Las Vegas. And it is about the recovery efforts that are ongoing following the Calf Canyon and Hermit's Creek fires 2 years ago. I wanted to share this interview with you because it gives a sense of the extended need for recovery and the environmental impacts that happen after a fire. And of course, we are working both in the Ruidoso, New Mexico area on 2 fire recovery efforts for 2 fires 2 years apart, and still the Calf Canyon Hermit's Creek fire recovery continues. I want you to meet Janna Lopez. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Janna Lopez. I am the founder of Neighbors Helping Neighbors Fire Relief. Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon started April 6th, 2022. And as the smoke kept getting thicker in the air and closer to my village, I just said, what can we do to help? And my husband said, we can cook. So we called up some friends and family members and just showed up at the middle school where the shelter was. Red Cross was feeding folks who were staying in the shelter but weren't feeding everybody else that was being evacuated and didn't know where to go. So we sprung into action and created a hub. You know, come here, we'll feed everyone that walks in the door, we'll pray with you, we'll hug, we'll get you to a counselor if you need, we'll find resources, and it just took off from there. So probably spent 12-hour days at the shelter from April until about August. And then I was able to go in at 8 o'clock after that in the morning and leave at 5 and leave the afternoon crew to do stuff. But then we transitioned from the middle school over to Sala de Madrid. The school needed their space back. So FEMA was gracious enough to pay for Sala de Madrid for us to continue our hub, getting people to come in, giving them information, getting data collection, getting them their immediate needs, water, food, you know, clothing, whatever they needed there. It just kept growing. Jill, of course, and the faith-based groups all came together and helped me with whatever I needed, whether it be gas cards, meal cards, prayer time, and whatever. The faith-based groups really stepped up. From there, Hap Eskew walked into the building. He's from UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Disaster Relief, and brought us cleaning buckets and quietly observed what we were doing. And one day pulled me aside and said, I think I could get you a grant. I'm going to talk to the national office. So he got us a grant to purchase office equipment, find a space, do case management, and really help with unmet needs. So with your church has given, I don't know, we're probably at over 189,000 in unmet needs. The First Presbyterian got an initial grant of 77,000. Las Vegas Community Foundation is about 300,000. So with these monies, we've been able to help people with septic repair, well repair, road work, you name it, buying furniture, replacing freezers that were lost, paying emergency rent. Whatever the need is, we've been able to fill the gaps. FEMA has been painfully slow to get these folks money. Other government agencies, there's a lot of red tape and requirements and cutoff limits of income. And, you know, although we're a poor county, some people have retirement, it puts them right over that edge of meeting the requirements for programs. So that's really, really why the unmet needs is so important, because we can fill in the gaps of what other programs may not be able to. Yeah, to at least help these folks towards recovery.
Yeah, because we were talking about how a lot of folks own their own home, and if you have had your home paid off, you may not have insurance, because insurance is required by a mortgage if you have a mortgage. But if you've paid off the mortgage, oftentimes people, you know, they might, instead of paying the insurance, put it in a savings account, or maybe just say, I don't need to pay that anymore.
Right.
And so if you had insurance, you had to work with the insurance company to get that insurance. If you didn't have insurance, all you were eligible for was the FEMA funds, right? And there's a per household limit. What's the limit?
The limit was $39,700, I believe. So for somebody who lost their home, that was for the home itself. And then we were able to finagle some more money out for furniture, maybe $5,000 to $9,000. The max that we got for folks was $50,000 from
Wow.
Stafford Act. And that's a drop in the bucket of what it would be to rebuild a home.
Right. If you think you've lost your whole home and you're,
Yes.
you know, if there's a garage, if there's a barn, if
Mhm.
there's, you know, a lot of what we've been driving, and you'll see lots of video of our tours of the burn scar area. People lost their homes, and even just to replace the pad and the gravel of the driveway to bring in a mobile
Yes.
home or a fifth wheel, you had to buy your own fifth wheel to,
Yes.
with that $50,000.
Yes.
Already you're halfway
Out.
through it, right?
Mhm.
And you haven't even got to the mobile home stage yet.
Right.
So for a lot of folks, and we met some people today who are still waiting for insurance to come in,
Yes.
still waiting for the FEMA
FEMA.
checks to come in. It's been
Mhm.
2 years plus now.
Yes.
So in terms of when you're talking about continuing to meet people's needs, I think a lot of us, we watched all the fires on the news. We contributed to the funds, you know, a
Mhm.
couple years ago, but then fire's out and everybody went, okay, whoosh, but
Right.
now we're 2 years out.
And
You've still been meeting needs. People still have needs. We met folks today who are still literally receiving clothing. They're literally
Yes.
receiving food. They're
Yes.
literally receiving propane in order to heat their homes,
Mhm.
all of that.
Yes. And for our area, a huge percentage, I don't have the number off the top of my head, did not have insurance.
Yeah.
They couldn't afford it, or they'd paid their mortgage off and had a little bit of reprieve from that insurance and used it towards something else. That money's for something else.
Yep.
So a lot of these homes were either underinsured or not insured at all.
And some of them, a lot of them ones that we've seen as we've driven around, we're talking about maybe adobe homes that have been in the family for a long time,
Yes.
or log cabin type homes that were built by
Multi-generational.
somebody, multi-generational things. So
Yes.
so sort of having a mortgage and a, you know, that's not what we're talking about. What
Right.
we're talking about is folks who have lived on this patch of land for a long time.
Yes.
And in terms of income, they may be raising some cattle here and there, doing
Yes.
some odd jobs. We're not talking about people who are working in downtown Santa Fe in advertising or something like
Yes.
that. We're talking about
So-
folks who were making a living anyway.
Thank you for
right?
bringing that up. A lot of people lived off the land here. They sold Christmas trees. They made latillas. They made coyote fence, you know, different kinds of wood for fencing. They would harvest the trees and take them to lumber mills and sell lumber in different shapes and forms. They would sell the moss pea rock, the moss rock, gardening, selling their cattle, and a lot of that has been taken away. We've had folks have to sell their animals because they can't afford to feed them because their pastures are devastated from the fires and floods, and they're having to sell off their herds. We've had people who their income is the farmers market, their livelihood is, you know, planting and growing things in their backyards in the mountains, and they can no longer do that.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that, because I think, again, we assume driving around, you see, oh, the grass is back, the meadows are coming, it's green. Why can't I run my herds out there? But
Right.
there's a really important reason.
There's an important reason with the flood runoff, with the fire retardant that was thrown, and now we don't know what the consequences of that is for the soil, the erosion. You know, fields are just destroyed with flood and debris, and it's scary. You know, we have a lot of work to do. People have to test the soil. You know, we're talking about reseeding efforts and reforestation, but you know, it's baby steps for that.
And a lot of it is the fire retardant, right? Which was
Yes.
dropped from the air, from airplanes. And there were chemicals in there designed to stop the fire as quickly as possible, which was maybe necessary at the time of the fire. But all of that is down in the ground now.
Yes.
And it's in the runoff when the floods came after the fire. So it wasn't like the fire and then we're done. It was the fire and then the floods. And now all of the chemicals are
in the soil.
still in the soil. And we were hearing earlier about what's happening to the cattle that are out there grazing.
Yes, we've had ranchers come in with showing us pictures of hairless calves that are stillborn. Other calves that, you know, have hair, but they're born bleeding out of their mouth and die. A lot of calves aborted even before they were a calf, you know, so there's been a lot of livestock issues. and we're saying, you know, in fact, I talked to the Santa Fe New Mexican about coming down and doing a story just on this, because I think we need to highlight the concerns of our livestock.
And so a lot of that is, and like you say, people had maybe small herds or even larger herds.
Yes.
that that was a significant way that they made their money. And if you're not able to have the calves come, it's harming the local business. It's
Yes.
keeping the knock-on effect of that
And
means they're not able to spend money in the local economy.
right.
Businesses are closing, people have lost their jobs. So the impact of those chemicals and those floods on the really the economy of this whole area,
Is
both
huge.
counties, is absolutely
Yes.
huge.
Yes.
And so a lot of what we were talking about now, you all are focusing on hay and livestock feed. Talk a little bit about people's needs there.
So people, of course, they can't use their pastures. You know, the grass isn't growing, or if it is, the calves aren't eating. So that tells you there's something wrong. So what we're doing is we, through our efforts of the unmet needs table, we're able to help a client at a time with $1,200 for reseeding efforts, $2,400 to feed their animals. And a lot of them have come in very grateful because they said we would have lost the few cows that we do have because we can't afford to feed them. You know, can't take them up to the national forest because it's all burnt. You know, we used to take our cattle up there, they'd lease it and bring them down. Right now, that's not safe either. So this little bit of help that they're getting from us really does give a sigh of relief, even if it's a Band-Aid, but at least we know there's some immediate help to give them hope, and hopefully they can get their FEMA monies or other payments soon, and they'll be able to sustain.
Yeah, so we've been talking about the human cost of this, the animal cost of this fire. We also, I want to really name that the environmental cost. I mean, for our creation care, it's going to be decades before those trees are back.
Yes.
And also in the meantime, because of the chemicals in the fire retardant, because of the floods, we're talking about ecosystems that will need to regenerate. And what we don't know is what's the half-life of the breakdown of those chemicals, and what will happen to the environment there. Because, you know, centuries ago, sure, there was a lightning strike that would have caused a forest fire. Yes, there would be charcoal, etc. The charcoal goes into the ground, and it's carbon, which actually can help nurture the soil. But when there's fire retardant happening, and then floods after that, it distributes the chemicals over acres and hundreds of acres of place. So those, you know, those chemicals are now everywhere in this area, and the long-term environmental impact
I think we're going to see, you know, we're going to need studies, we're going to need time, and unfortunately FEMA is rushing through some of the claims, you know, getting monies out, but really in the end, are we going to have more damages that then are not going to be compensated? You know, it's going to hurt us for a long, long time. We don't know the lasting effects of the damages from this fire. Flooding, I think we're going to start seeing some flooding soon. The snow cap is going to start melting, and I'm praying that NRCS and all those HESCO baskets and the flood mitigation that has been done, I'm praying that that holds up so that we don't have a lot of folks displaced again.
Yeah, because we've seen the HESCO baskets are those big, we were talking yesterday, they almost look like they're air conditioning units.
Yes.
And they stack up, they're green. But that is what is, there are these beautiful streams that trickle down, right? And those streams would bring the fresh, clean water out of the hill, right? But now
it's full of silt.
It's full of silt, full of that fire retardant, and there's nothing to hold back. So it rains up there and it floods.
Here it comes. We've seen streams, creeks that are, you know, 10 feet wide, 20 feet wide, going to 30, 40. I mean, it's just overtaking everything. So that's a fear of mine for these folks, but we just have to have faith and pray that these interventions work.
Yeah, because we're talking about the water. That water with the chemicals and all the flood is also impacting people's wells.
Yes, it's impacting wells. We've had well testing done. They're contaminated. People are having to pay money to flush their wells and hope that the treatments work and that their water quality is better. Here in Las Vegas, where our water system was contaminated, and it still is.
The whole city.
The whole city. So, you know, we're buying bottled water to make your coffee, to cook with, but we're still showering. You know, we're still consuming the water one way or another.
Well, we were talking with some of the folks on your staff who were saying sometimes when you take a shower, it burns your skin.
You're itchy.
And this is the city water treated, the city's treated water coming out of the tap. That is burning your skin because of what's in the runoff from the fire.
Right.
And
So-
that's the stuff that the cows are eating, that are
Yes.
making the miscarriages. Like the long-term environmental
Long-term is
impact here is huge.
I wish that we could get these studies done quicker and get
Yeah.
some more environmental studies done and some solutions, because that's very alarming to me.
I want to talk a little more about. I want to make sure people understand the way the network that you founded. You all have created from nothing this tremendously diverse, community organized network of resources that includes everything from we can get you hay, we can get you couches, we can get you propane, we can get you water, we can get you a new foundation. I mean, like, you all are doing amazing work.
Thank
I think
you.
some people think that, oh, FEMA comes in and there's FEMA trailers and they just take care of everything.
No.
That's not the way this stuff works.
Right.
And the second thing I think people think is, you know, FEMA is built to deal with environmental disasters like a tornado or something. That's one thing.
Quick recovery.
But a fire like this is a tremendously long thing.
Yes.
And you all are in this for the long haul. So tell us about the network. Like, give us a sense of the scope of this network that you all have, that you have built,
Okay.
and how, and we're a part of that, you know, through St. Paul's Peace, through the diocese. We've been helping to contribute. Jill Klein has been huge. The people here are working to help support you all. But there's a need for volunteers still.
Yes.
Tell us all about that network.
Okay, so Neighbors Helping Neighbors, like I said, started with me and my family and some friends I called upon. Went into action. We all have strengths. You know, mine was, I'm friendly. I'm a people person. I'll get a person to open up, hug them when they walk in, sit down. What are your needs? What can we help you with? And go from there. So we've made, we partnered with FEMA, you know, to get people registered. So to make sure that they get the money they are entitled to from this disaster. We continue to help with the claims procedure. If they don't understand the forms, we'll get them connected. USDA has a disaster grant. Many people didn't apply for that because there's a lot of resistance to the government and a lot of lack of trust. So we're trying to build that bridge and get more people to trust us and follow through with that program. There's a $42,000 available.
Well, let's talk about that lack of trust a little bit, because people may not remember this fire was a controlled burn that got out of control. So a lot of people are like, you all started this.
Yes.
And now there's all this red tape. We have to fill out all these forms. We filled out the form, you send it back and say we're denying it because the form wasn't filled out correct. And people we talked to a gentleman today who was saying, I'm just done. The fight has gone out of me, is the words that he used.
We hear that too often.
So you all actually sit with people and help them fill out the forms.
Yes.
And that includes things like people had to describe what was in their homes in order to figure out the value of that. So I've lost my whole house. It was burned to the ground. And now part of the filling out the form is mentally to go through every room in my house and say, what was in it and what was the value of that? And that's painful.
Yes.
But you have helped people with that.
We've sat down and we've done room by room, page by page, and gone over it again and again to hopefully get them what they're entitled to for compensation. We've done USDA referrals. We've done Tierras y Montes referrals for the land, for HESCO baskets, for different things like that. We've helped people fill out food stamp applications, LIHEAP, wherever the need is, if, you know, just trying to fill those gaps to make sure that their immediate needs are met as well as their long-term goals. So we've partnered with really anybody, any agency that's available. We say, come on in, tell us what you have to offer. What do the folks need? And let's get that application done.
Yep. And businesses have contributed as well.
Businesses have contributed. We have what we call celebrations every 4 to 6 weeks. We bring our impacted residents together. St. Paul's Peace has been, you know, active in giving monies for that, as well as local businesses, so that we can get a gift card to the family. You know, we have mental health therapists there at these meetings to see if anyone's open to a counseling referral. You know, we just follow up with, hey, where are you at with this step? Do we need to call NRCS? Do you need help? Do you need for us to advocate for anything or with any agency for you? And we'll do that.
And there's still a need for volunteer teams, is that right?
Yes,
Tell me about that.
We have right now. Paul Hesch, the pastor for Victory Life, is working on getting a volunteer group here, hopefully the end of May, beginning of June. Convoy of Hope is who he's connected with. So we've had small groups of Convoy of Hope come out. throughout the disasters. They've helped with small fence repair, debris removal, different things like that. So we'll hope this group of convoy that comes now will have some projects for them. In July, we have a Texas Baptist group coming.
The
in
Baptist
July.
men,
Yeah,
they always show up.
150 of them.
I've worked with them with chainsaws,
Yes.
following hurricanes and
Well,
tornadoes
these
in
guys
North
come with
Carolina.
a little bit of construction skill, so
Yeah.
they want us to, build sheds or any little projects that we may have. They're willing to go out there and do it. Samaritan's Purse, Rubicon, other groups have come, some with 50 members, some with 8 members. Just depends, but we'll take them.
Yeah.
And we'll keep them busy and assign them projects that need to be done.
Wow. Janna, I'm so grateful. Thank you for taking the time to show me the area. And 2 years on, we have seen people still living in temporary housing.
Yes.
We've seen people who are living in a manufactured home because they didn't have the funds to rebuild. We've seen people who have decided to leave. I can't take it anymore. And thank you for showing us what's happened and reminding us that the work is still ongoing.
Yes, it's a long recovery.
There's still a need for funding. There's still a need for volunteer help.
There's still a need for donations to come on in so we can help these folks continue their road to recovery. They need love. They need prayers. We need donations. And most of all, volunteers. Come on in, people, and let's help these folks get on their road to recovery.
Janna, thank you for you. Thanks for your faith and your courage. Tell me a little bit before we finish up. What sustains you? What keeps you going in the midst of this? Because you've been given so much over all of these years. And here you are sitting with me with a smile on your face and your heart is so warm. Yeah. What gives you hope and sustains you in the midst of all this trauma?
Just community, the love that we have for one another. I was brought up in a family where you help, you give. You help when somebody's hungry, you feed them. When they need clothes, you clothe them. If it's your last dollar and you need to give it away, God will provide. So really my faith is very strong. And just being able to be here for these impacted residents and knowing that they trust us and they know to come report their celebrations, their fallbacks, if they're depressed. I don't matter, anybody walks in that door, they know that we're going to listen, we're going to pass judgment, and we're going to do our best to get the best possible resource for them. And like the woman that we saw today, it was hard to get her in, but once we got her in and built that trust, we've been able to help her. And now she's turning around and giving back to others impacted residents. So
she's got a shed full of stuff.
Yeah.
She's trying to pay it forward, give it to other people. It was beautiful meeting her, and we got to bless her home.
Yes,
we did
that was awesome.
A home blessing for her today. That was
and hope to do more of those with you all.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I just think a day at a time, and I think that our hub, I still call it the hub, our little center is really the glue. They know they can go there when they're happy, when they're sad, when they're frustrated, and they know that they're going to walk out of there with an answer, maybe a gallon of water, whatever it may be, but their needs are going to be met.
Yeah. Thank you, Janna. God bless you.
Thank you. Pleasure meeting you.